Hey everybody, Zach here with Now You Know, and I'm really lucky to have Rebecca Dibb-Simkin with me today. She's the Product and Marketing Director for Octopus Energy in the UK. And the reason I'm talking to you today, Rebecca, is we have a few viewers in the UK who emailed me a couple weeks ago, and they told me this incredible tale. They said that they were getting paid to use their blenders and use their microwaves. And I was like, no, I don't think that's possible. I think you must be mistaken. But then I read an article in the New York Times that said that was true. So I got you here. Tell me, is this true? Can you get paid to use your blender?
It is indeed. So yeah, indeed, over a couple of weekends, in May, over the bank holiday weekend, we did indeed pay customers to use power, to use their electricity.
What kind of business are you in? How can you make money, Rebecca, paying people to use energy?
It's a bit, so we're an energy company, so we supply gas and electricity to homes throughout Great Britain. But we're a tech-driven energy company, and we're all about bringing cheaper, greener power to everyone around the world. Actually, we're in the UK. We're also in Germany and Australia as well. And our tech unlocks all kinds of cleverness within the energy system, which in some climates turns into paying customers for using power.
Okay, so we've reported on this thing called the duck curve, which I think must be involved here, right? Which is that I guess at certain times of the day or in this bank holiday, the power plants that can't really slow down much were probably producing too much power, I'm guessing, and you could take advantage of that. But explain, I mean, normally I've heard of this energy being like stored in a battery or something, but in this case, customers were asked to actually use up the energy. So, but how can they get paid to use it? That's the part that keeps getting me stuck in my head.
So this is, this is a totally new thing, right? So this has kind of never been, we've never before looked at an energy system where actually consumers can help balance the grid, right? And this is absolutely critical as part of the move to renewable energy. So we need to move to a system all over the world where we are generating power from renewables, so from the sun, from the wind, from the sea, all that kind of stuff. Right? We want to switch off the power stations. Now, one of the challenges with renewables is that they're a little bit more difficult to control, right? So it's a little bit easier to switch off. I mean, I'm simplifying it massively here, but a little bit easier to switch off a big power station than it is, if you have a really sunny day, you get loads of power. And actually, you don't really want to start switching off renewable energy. We want a system that is more effective at creating renewables, and we don't want to start switching them off. Plus, a lot of renewable generation is actually from small-scale renewable generators. So people have solar panels on their roof, or a village will club together and buy a wind farm. Right? It's complicated to get them all to turn it off, and we don't want to. But it does mean that you do have this situation where the grid, which all the power flows through between generator and getting to people's homes, can become oversupplied. It's like it's like tins of beans at a supermarket. You can't just keep putting them on the shelf, unless consumers are taking them off the shelf, because suddenly the whole thing will explode, right? So it's a bit of a challenge as we move to more renewables. How do you balance power this way? So basically, when there is too much power on the grid, energy suppliers, in a slightly complicated way, are paid to take that power off the grid and release the strain. So it's either get people to take it off the grid, or it's turn off what's putting it in the grid. So going back to the beans on the shelf, you either stop putting beans on, or you make them free so people will take them. It's exactly the same thing. But actually what we've never done as an energy industry is actually really believe that customers will change how they use energy to take the tins off the shelf rather than stopping the tins going on the shelf. And that's what we do. So we have a platform called Kraken, which we built ourselves, which is software basically, which actually lets us pass on those cost differentials to the customer. So actually we can say there's going to be too much power at this particular point, which is what we did in May. We ran a trial, and we're going to say we're actually going to pay you to use energy in a particular slot to take power off the grid.
How did you let customers know that opportunity would be coming up?
So we contacted 100,000 customers who all have smart meters with us, and we emailed them the week before, and we said, this is happening. There is more demand there's more power on the grid than is helpful. This is partly due to COVID. So with COVID-19, businesses have closed down, and so they are using less than expected. So actually we had an imbalance of supply and demand. Plus it's been windy, it's been sunny, there's just too much. So we wrote to them, explained the situation, and said, would you like to take part in being paid for your energy? And we gave them 2 slots. We gave them a very early morning slot where we paid 5p a kilowatt hour. And we gave them an afternoon slot where we paid them 2p a kilowatt hour. So there was an interesting kind of, all people get up early for a little bit more money. And we asked them to opt in to say which one they'd like. And then we emailed them beforehand, I think the day before and on the day, to remind them to switch on and set their timers and get up and all that kind of thing. And then after they'd done it, we then emailed them to tell them how much they'd made, basically.
You must have gotten a lot of phone calls of people like, are you serious? Was this a real email?
We did. One of the biggest problems that we had was thousands of customers thinking it was a spam email. So we actually had to, we trialed it. So we did it twice. And the first email, got so many saying this is a spam and people reporting it to us. And we were like, no, how can we show people that it's not spam? Because people should be careful that they get strange emails offering them to pay them money for stuff. So we wrote a blog on our website and we linked to a blog, and there was a piece in the independent newspaper in the UK, and we linked to that, and we were like, look, we can go to all these places to show that it's a real thing. And actually I actually sat on the emails from customers. So we had all the emails that replied to this email came into a particular inbox, and I literally sat there over the weekend and replied to them, was like, no, I'm the marketing director. It's totally kosher. I know it's a bit weird, but it will be a thing.
Wow. And so how did it turn out? I mean, did you have enough people using power, or too many, or what happened?
No, it was perfect, actually. We in certain pots of customers, we had they were using 200% more than was calculated for that period. So there was a significant, within that pot, significant increase in demand. People did what they said they did. They only opted into it, but then they followed through. We've shared some of the findings with the national grid here, because it's the first ever consumer trial of this type.
Really?
Yeah, first ever in this country. I don't know whether it's been done elsewhere as well. So actually the grid that, forms that balance between generators and retailers was actually, genuinely really interesting. We shared those results with them because they have to work out how this works, right? It's not just a kind of cool thing to do and, amazing. It was picked up in the press and customers talk about it. It's not about that. It's actually about how can you actually move to a system where you can balance renewables, where actually, how can you get where you contact people all the time? And what I want to see is, we should be able to text people or just say, like, hey, there's a lot of energy, put your washing on now or put it on later, or, charge your EV at a slightly different time. And that's an incredible ushering in a totally kind of brave new world. And we also look at it for business as well. So it's not just consumers, but we have a business arm that does this kind of thing for small businesses all the way up to enormous businesses. So we power Arsenal Football Club is our biggest supplier. So it's kind of like, how can we use this technology for everybody? For we unlock this, cheaper, greener power.
That's so interesting. Well, you mentioned there EVs. I mean, we're big proponents of electric vehicles on this channel. And so I imagine a lot of your customers must have been like, hey, I can charge up my EV and get paid to do it?
Yes. So it's really interesting, right? So on average, most people were paid like only a few pence, right? But of course they would have usually, so they kind of say, so people were, I think it was about 35p or something on average that people made, apart from a few fairly savvy EV owners with batteries who, slightly rinsed us. Now, we love EV owners and we love battery owners because, these are people who are, the tip of the wedge, right, into driving this new world. We need people who will invest in the tech and the hardware. So then we can test things like this. We have a partnership with Tesla, where, we have a very particular tariff that works with a Tesla car and a Powerwall and Tesla solar panels to circle energy. So it's being pulled down and stored when it's cheaper, and then when it's more expensive, it will be used from the battery. So, we can't do stuff like that without people with EVs in this kit and that commitment. But, they do rinse us.
You asked them to do it.
You asked them to do it, right?
That's really interesting. Yes, as we all know, an EV can hold a lot of energy. A Model 3 can hold 75 kilowatt hours of electricity, and I guess they were able to just start filling it up when you asked them to. So that's That's quite cool. So let's talk about what we are kind of big proponents of on this channel, which is vehicle to grid. We believe that someday soon, hopefully, that we'll be able to start using electric vehicles to help balance the grid, just like you were talking about, that like when we need to store energy during the middle of the day, let's say on a sunny day, we could store it in cars. Do you think this is something, I mean, like we're not engineers. We just talk about this as something we'd like to have happen. But do you think, being in the energy world, that this is something that could actually happen?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, it's happening now. So this tariff that we have, this agile tariff where the price changes every half an hour, that's a perfect example of how this can work. So, I mean, an EV is a big battery, right? So it's, you charge it at work, and then you come home and you plug it in. And it powers your house. So you might not ever need to pull from the grid yourself, or maybe you have solar panels which generate a bit, and you have another battery in the house that stores it. This kind of, very local generation is the way the grid is moving.
So we have lots of viewers who are in the UK, Germany, Australia, and so if they're watching now and they're like, whoa, what is this Octopus Energy? Can they actually, I mean, how does it work? Do you have to come and like hook up lines to their house, or how do they become customers of yours? We've
only recently moved into Germany and Australia, so we will hopefully be bringing all those products over with us. Our technology is global technology. It will work anywhere. So yeah, watch this space. We'll be around. Be patient. And we'll be there. I
mean, how does it work? Do they just call you up or go on your website and become a customer? I mean, aren't they already customers of, let's say, National Grid? How does this work?
So you'd have to be an Octopus. So in the UK, you have to be an Octopus Energy customer. So National Grid kind of holds the pipes and wires, and then an energy retailer is the kind of the last mile, right? Now our technology kind of hooks in with that and does something that most of the companies can't do. So you have to be an Octopus Energy customer. You have to get a smart meter, which in the UK is a government rolled out program. So everybody is getting one with energy supply. So if you have one of the latest generation smart meters, you can move to us from another company and we can give you this tariff. Or if you're with us and you don't have one, you have an old dumb meter, we can give you a smart meter and you can have this tariff. And it's similar. I'm not, to be honest, exactly sure the scope of the hardware in some of the countries that we're moving into, but it's a similar kind of thing.
So when me as an American hears the word tariff, I just think of a tax. Like, I know it's a different term in the UK. Can you explain, like, how does your system work? So you mentioned, like, for instance, you have this deal with Tesla that you're doing, but like, so what does it mean when you say you have a tariff?
Yeah, so sorry, I didn't getting myself lost in industry jargon there. So the tariff is the rate that you pay for your power, basically. So generally, an energy company will say for every kilowatt hour you use, there is a price for that. So generally, between kind of 14 and 16p will charge you. And then most energy companies in the UK also charge a standing charge, which is kind of a few pence a day. Which is basic to cover, so even if you're not using power, there are some costs that are still there. So, we have different tariffs that we offer you. So some people like a tariff where the price is fixed, the unit rate is fixed for a year. And some people like a tariff where it can change depending on the wholesale market. So there's different it's a bit like a mortgage, right? Think of it like, when you get a mortgage, there are different rates that you can take. It's like a rate.
Oh, okay. So I see. So you could just pay like a fixed rate no matter what time of day I use power, I'm paying a certain fee. Or I could be charged depending on kind of the demand curve of the day. And I guess that would be good if I had maybe solar on my roof, and because then maybe I could be getting paid for that.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. So most people will have a tariff where, so basically usually, the cost of energy fluctuates, but energy companies will kind of hedge it, buy it all up, and then say, right, Mr. Customer, you can have this rate where it's fixed at XP, or this rate. Sometimes there are variable tariffs where they change. They might change every quarter, maybe. Our technology actually lets you take a tariff where it changes every day in waves.
Gotcha. So this is making more sense, because I was like, how can Octopus Energy, which I don't think you guys own any power plants, I was like, how can they be an energy company? But it's your technology that lets you do that.
It's our technology that lets us do that. Yeah, absolutely. And which we have this platform that we have basically lets us hook into those half-hourly prices that are usually only available at a different level and kind of pass them on to the customer. that's how it works.
So this is quite a big change then, I've got to imagine. Like, you're just talking about how the country is rolling out these smart meters. How long has that process been going on?
It's really picked up speed in the last year or so. It's been slightly delayed by COVID, but there is an obligation on suppliers to, really ramp up and be getting them into their customers' homes over the next year or so. And it's incredibly exciting because it does unlock this kind of thing. Smart meters are supposed to, they will let you keep an eye on your energy usage. So they've got really good, you can see what you're using kind of in real time. You don't have to give meter readings anymore, so it's accurate billings. But for me, the most exciting thing is it unlocks this kind of cheaper, greener power. And what I'm looking for in a world not too far away is actually almost like, your house is automated. Imagine a new build house that you move into and it's not powered. In the UK, most stuff is powered by gas boilers, but you move into a house and it's got a heat pump, which is electrically driven, and that's hooked into our really clever tariff. So it automatically turns on during the day when it's cheaper. So you'll say, I want it at this temperature, and it will use algorithms to switch on when it's cheapest for you. And when it's cheapest, it's probably because there's lots of renewables on the grid, so it's greenest as well. And you have your EV parked on the driveway, which is also connected. So that works alongside your house to go, okay, well, tell you what, I'm not only going to turn the heat pump on when power is cheap, but actually when it's more expensive, I'll take it from the EV. And you might have a battery as well, and you might have solar. So you're literally a tiny little power station all on your own. And this isn't far away technology. This is here right now. There's people doing this, and we just need to try and bring some of the costs down of the hardware. But it's not far away. And another thing we can look at as well, it's not just your local generation. It's like, how can you share power with your neighbours? So actually, could you have a local, almost like all you and your neighbours' houses are all one big battery, and you kind of trade off between each other, and you take out the middleman of the grid, and it's all locally generated. That's what's really exciting.
It is exciting. I saw a video on your channel where you were showing off a little town in England, I think it was in England, that had basically decided to become their own little power generator using their waterfall that they had in their town. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, so this is, so actually we do own some, well, not own some, we do have relationships with some small generation. So we don't have any big, kind of solar farms or wind farms that we own directly, but we work with over 100 small local generators, which is where literally a village like, right, we want to generate our own power. We're gonna buy a wind turbine, or we're gonna buy some solar panels, or you might have a farmer who's got a big field and he buys them. And then there's all kinds of experiments going on where literally we can, we switch people in that village to Octopus, and then we work out what comes from the power that is driven from that waterfall or from that wind turbine, and we deduct that from everybody's bill. So we buy that power, and then we kind of divide it and we take it off the bill in a very simplified way. That gets even more complicated, but that's really exciting as well. You have communities coming together, right, to build something nice, and they might invest in they'll invest in buying it, they'll all put in some money to fund the turbine, but then they know they'll get that off their bills. And that's really green, that's real green power.
Octopus has a motto, which is power to the people. And I think this is so perfect, because what you're talking about here is letting people produce their own power, but also control their own power. And what's exciting to me is that for the first time in a long time, we've had the ability to actually be more aware of what we're using power for. Like, for the longest time, you just plugged into an outlet, you got your bill at the end of the month, you didn't think about it. But now what you're talking about here with smart meters and with your ability to control things on the half hour is that I think people are becoming more and more aware of the energy they use.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think that's important, right? It's not an infinite resource. We need to be conscious of everything that we use and everything that we touch and everything that we consume. As a species, it's not just there. It's not just there for ours for the taking. And I think that there's been incredible advancements over the last few years, and how we can explain that to people as well. Because I'm always conscious that when I started out in energy 10 years ago, green energy was something for people who had a bit more money would pay extra for. It's like stuff that's good for the environment. People kind of have in their head it costs more. If you want an EV, it costs more. If you want to go vegan, that food costs more. Clothes made from natural fibres cost more, and that's not right, because it shouldn't be. You need to make sure that these things are accessible for everybody. And I think that's what our technology is really exciting, that it kind of makes people think about it in a different way, but also it means that it comes with cheaper as well. It's not just greener and cool and techy, and it's great for those people who will play with the hardware and are the early adopters of EVs and batteries and all that kind of thing. But it's about how do you make it simple for people your normal people. You know, a lot of people don't think about that, don't worry about that. They've got lots of stuff going on in their lives. They just want to put the light switch on, and for the light to come on, and for it to be fairly priced, and if it's green, that's great. And that's what we show that we can do. But also, it's like, actually, if you get a text saying, "Oh, could you maybe not turn on until like a bit later in the day? Do you need to do your washing now?" And people are like, yeah, "Okay, that's cool. I feel good about that." People feel good that they're doing their little bit.
So what's the future of this? Is this going to turn into, like, because it sounds like communicating with your customers is hugely important, but I imagine you don't want to send an email to them every weekend or whatever. So like, is there going to be an app at some point, or like, how are you going to let me know as a potential customer, like, oh, Zach, Tuesday at 5 o'clock would be a great time to charge your car?
Well, I mean, that's something that we're looking at and testing at the moment, right? So, this trial was really interesting. Will people plug everything in for really a few pence? And they will. I'm interested next trial, will they plug stuff in if it's free? Will they plug stuff in if it's cheaper? Like, how do people think? What makes them do things? Actually, is it, it's not the financial reward from this. It was actually the greater good and the green and the interest. And actually, we've made energy interesting. And actually, what's really fascinating is we ran 2 trials, and all the customers who took part in the first trial, we invited to the second trial, and most people took part again. So even though they knew they got 35p last time, for getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, they did it again, and that's really interesting. So I think, email was was the first way of communicating with them. Yes, you might have app notifications, you might get texts. I think it should be however the consumer wants to be informed, that switch on stuff now, or it might be just people get a sense even of certain times of the day it's less good to use power. So it kind of makes sense to say from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. it's more expensive generally, because there's more demand. So people maybe know, well, I'll use less then. I'll try and eat my dinner a bit later, or not do it, or I'll plug my, when I get home from work at 6:30, I'll plug my car in at 7:15. What would be really fascinating is then when everybody's doing that, and then the peaks and troughs shift again, right? So then we were like, oh no, we've just changed another peak, so we just change it again. Maybe everybody gets their own peak and trough. This can all be done through technology and through the platform that we have, and that's what's really exciting. Yeah,
I mean, what's so cool here is, especially with EV drivers, is that it sounds like with the right technology, with the right like smart chargers, that you would be able to just take me out of the loop entirely. Just basically say, well, we'll just talk to your car, Zach, and you give us some parameters, and like we'll take energy when we think it's the right time, and we'll give energy when it's the right time.
Absolutely, and that's what we're testing with vehicle to grid at the moment as well. So we are running some real world trials around that as well. And it's like you can tell our app, I would like my car to be 75% charged by 8 a.m. every morning, and then I'd like it always to be 25% charged, so I can always go and get some milk or some bread or whatever. But actually, the rest of the time, fill your boots, do what you want with it. But then there's an override button, so I can say, no, actually today I need it 100% all day or tomorrow. But that's the kind of thing. How can you get to the point where people trust you just to run it efficiently? And they know that it's cheaper and it's greener and they're doing a good thing.
I have a feeling there's some viewers right now who may not, who may be in your area, so the UK right now, but who might not know about you yet, and might be like chomping at the bit to find out more. So how can customers either know that they're in the right area, or know that they can sign up with you? Like, what's the best way that they should do that?
We supply all customers, all households in England, Scotland and Wales can switch to Octopus Energy, and just go to our website octopus.energy, and actually on the homepage we talk about some of these special tariffs, so it's all there.
Oh, well, I think, guys, go do it. Let's go sign up for this. This is perfect. And then what's your timetable? So you're moving to Germany and Australia as well. When do you think people will be able to start signing up there?
We last year bought a fabulous German energy company called 400, which we are going to be working with towards the end of this year. We're going to migrate them onto our Kraken platform to unlock all these goodies. and then we'll be doing a big sales push there. So people in Germany should see us over in Germany, and we're also looking at other territories as well to launch in this year really fast. Our cracking technology is easy to roll out around the world. Same in Australia as well. We've actually work a lot with Origin Energy in Australia, and they are moving onto our platform as well. So potentially all these tariffs are coming there as well. So we will pop up. You won't have to look for us. We will be there.
You have a really funny video on your channel, on your YouTube channel. And by the way, guys, go check out their YouTube channel because you can learn a lot more there. We'll put the link down below. On your YouTube channel, you have this funny video where you show what kind of people it takes to work at Octopus Energy, and you show the wrong person. There's a guy who's definitely not a good fit for you guys. He's an actor. He's pretending. But it really was cool to see the people who do work there. Really, it seems like a really fun work environment. Are you looking to expand? Are you looking to add new employees?
Yeah, definitely. We're recruiting all the time. So we were set up 4 years ago, and our first office was in London. And I joined as, I think I was just over 3 years ago, I was employee number 34. We had 50,000 customers. We now have 1.5 million customers in the UK. And I think around 600 staff across four sites and a lot in the field as well. So we have a lot of, because of our technology, a lot of our staff work remotely. Even before COVID, we were very used to that because it's a cloud-based platform that we have, so you can totally safely and securely log into it anywhere. So we've actually, even improved our customer service and our customer satisfaction during COVID because everybody just literally immediately started working at home, kind of took the laptop home on Friday and was set up on Monday morning and good to go. So we're continuing to recruit some great people, and we've got awesome people who work here, because of our technology. Again, we get really qualified people who are looking at all aspects of a customer's account, totally end to end. And everybody's a graduate. We've got people who done geography degrees and sustainability degrees, and people who really want to drive. People work here because they want to change the world. They want to drive sustainability forward and drive the future of energy. And
the job I want, you have a video where you show a couple guys driving around in a Tesla to check out different charging sites, and I'm like, that's my job. I want to do that. That looks awesome.
We actually have, so part of the Octopus Energy group, so the Octopus Energy is the retail energy business that we sell gas and electricity. We also have Octopus Electric Vehicles, which leases EVs. So you can lease an EV electric vehicle through us, like a Tesla or we do that as well, right? So that's part of our group. So actually that's why, so one of the reasons we started developing tariffs, which was really good for EV drivers, because I've got an EV arm who were like, so you can take an EV from us and a really cool tariff, which will mean it's really cheap to power.
Wow, that's so cool. So if you want to learn more about Octopus Energy, go to octopus.energy. All the information is there. It's a really cool site, and they do have a really cool YouTube channel as well. Rebecca, thank you so much for taking time today to talk to me about all this. I'm really excited about the future of your company, and let's check back soon and find out what you guys are doing next year.
Thank you. Brilliant. Thanks, Zach.